Building Charity, Episode 1. Why Build a New City Now? Welcome to Building Charity, a podcast series about a remarkable experiment happening less than 45 minutes from downtown San Antonio, Texas. I'm your host, Jeffrey Duke, and today we're exploring why a group of forward-thinking individuals decided to build an entirely new kind of city from scratch, and why it might just be the solution to some of America's biggest challenges. Let's start with some sobering realities about life in America today. The past few years have created what you might call a perfect storm, a convergence of crises that's forcing us to rethink how we live. First, there's the housing crisis. According to the National Association of Realtors, the median home price in America hit $402,600 in 2023, while median household income was just $74,580. That means the average home costs more than 5.4 times the average annual income. But it gets worse. In major cities, that ratio can be as high as 10 to 1. Here's how Emily Martinez, a young software developer in San Antonio, describes it.
I was making six figures, but still couldn't afford a decent home in a safe neighborhood. Between student loans and rising rents, saving for a down payment felt impossible. I was doing everything right, good job, saving what I could, but the goalposts kept moving further away.
Emily's story isn't unique. In fact, millennials and Gen Z are facing the worst housing affordability crisis in generations. But that's just the beginning. Let's talk about loneliness. The U.S. Surgeon General's 2023 report revealed some shocking statistics. Half of Americans report feeling lonely. Even more concerning, young adults aged 18 to 25 report the highest levels of loneliness despite, or perhaps because of, being our most connected generation. The health impacts are staggering. Chronic loneliness has the same impact on mortality as smoking 15 cigarettes a day. It increases the risk of heart disease, depression, anxiety, and cognitive decline. The economic cost? Over $150 billion annually in additional healthcare expenses. Meanwhile, the way we work has fundamentally changed. Gallup's 2024 report shows 12.7% of full-time employees now work completely remotely, and another 29% in hybrid arrangements. That's over 40% of the workforce no longer tied to a traditional office. Yet our cities have not adapted. They're still designed around a commuting model that's becoming obsolete. The average American spends 55 minutes per day commuting. That's nearly 10 full days per year spent in traffic. Think about that. 10 days of your life each year just sitting in traffic. Let's not forget the cost. The average American household spends $10,961 annually on transportation. Mostly on cars they're using less and less. Add in maintenance, insurance, and parking, and we're looking at nearly 20% of household income spent on transportation. Segment 2. Welcome to Charity. But what if there was a different way? What if we could redesign city living from the ground up, using everything we know about human happiness, sustainability, and modern technology? Welcome to Charity, Texas. Sarah Rodriguez, our city manager, explains why she left her successful career in San Antonio.
When I first heard about Charity's vision, it sounded too good to be true. A city built around community rather than cars, homes that are actually affordable, using blockchain technology to make governance transparent. But standing here today, watching our first 50 residents build something remarkable, I know we're onto something special.
Let me walk you through what makes Charity different. We'll start with housing, because that's often the first question people ask about. Instead of traditional real estate, Charity uses something called a community land trust model. Think of it as a way to separate the cost of the land from the cost of the home. The trust owns the land permanently, while residents own their homes through a special lease agreement. The result? A 1,200 square foot energy efficient home in Charity costs 20% less than a similar home when comparing total monthly costs, including utilities. But it's not just about affordable housing. It's about reimagining community itself. At the heart of Charity is the kitchen, a 20,000 square foot community space that's revolutionizing how we think about dining and gathering. Tom Moreno, our head chef, puts it this way.
The kitchen isn't just a restaurant. It's the community's living room. People come for a meal and stay for the conversation. We have retirees teaching kids to play chess, remote workers sharing lunch breaks, and spontaneous potlucks that turn into community celebrations.
Segment 3. Innovation in Action. Transportation in Charity looks different too. Instead of being car dependent, we've built a network of e-bike paths and walking trails that connect everything. Our first e-bike station is already up and running, with more on the way as we expand. For the tech savvy, we're putting blockchain technology to practical use. Every resident gets a voice in community decisions through our digital governance system. But don't worry, you don't need to be a crypto expert to participate. Think of it like a digital town hall that's always open. Want to propose a new community garden? Submit it through the app. Want to see how your community fees are being spent? It's all transparent and accessible. Maria Torres, one of our first residents, explains how this all comes together.
As a single mom working in food service, I never thought I'd be able to own a home. But here I am, in my own apartment above the kitchen, paying less than I did for rent in San Antonio. My kids have a safe place to play, and I have a whole community looking out for us. The EBIC system means I don't need a car, and the community meals at the kitchen help stretch my food budget. It's not just affordable, it's a better way to live.
Segment 4. Early Results and Future Vision. The early results are remarkable. Our latest resident survey shows 83% of residents report knowing their neighbors' names, compared to the national average of 26%. 80% feel part of a community versus just 38% nationally. And we're just getting started. As Phase 2 and 3 construction continues, we're preparing to welcome hundreds of new residents. By year 5, Charity will be home to over 10,000 people, with 5 community hubs, each designed to put everything residents need within a 15-minute walk or bike ride. The challenges facing America, housing affordability, loneliness, environmental sustainability, won't be solved by tweaking the existing system. Sometimes you need to start fresh, and that's what we're doing in Charity, Texas. Before we end today's episode, I want to share something important with our listeners. Charity Texas is a work of fiction, an imagined community that represents what could be possible when we reimagine how we live together. While the town and its residents don't exist on any map, the challenges we've discussed are very real. The statistics we've shared about housing affordability, loneliness, remote work trends, and the environmental impact of traditional cities come from actual research and studies. The Surgeon General's report on loneliness, the housing cost ratios, the commuting times, these are all real data points that affect millions of Americans every day. The solutions we've explored, community land trusts, pocket neighborhoods, shared community spaces, and Web3 governance, are also based on real innovations being implemented in various ways across the world. While charity itself is fictional, it's inspired by real communities and movements that are working to create more sustainable, connected, and affordable ways of living. I'm Jeffrey Duke, and thank you for joining us on Building Charity.